The first document that you have to prepare is always a site plan. So a site plan, it can be, well, it has to be something that gives information about our building. Here we have our building. This is the first floor, it's not the basement. On site plans, we can use, usually we have the roof plan, okay, so we don't see the interior of the building, but I think that is nice enough because it helps us understand where the entrance, the main entrance is. Here we have the main lobby. Okay, so having the first floor here, it's something good for this site plan. For this Renzo Pianos building, we don't need the floor plans, we just need the roof. Okay, so we don't need this. But we need the surroundings. You know that we have this parking lot here, we have this green area here, we have the fountains, we have this is not the lobby, but this is the main entrance. So we have trees here before entering the building, we have trees, we have green areas around, and well, we have different aspects of this wall, of this project. So this could be the first slide that you have to show. There's something missing on that slide. What is it? It's quite easy. There is no north arrow and there is no graphic scale. So when we have a plan, we need a north arrow. So remember that we can always download north arrow from the website. I put something like this. So if we copy this image, we can always paste the north arrow here, and we know that the north in this building is like that, because we know that this theater or this auditorium is on the northeast side of the building. Okay, so we have the north arrow, and we need a graphic scale. You remember that we had a graphic scale here. Okay, so again, we can paste a graphic scale somewhere, and then we have to adjust this to the size of our building. So if 50 feet is like half this, so probably the graphic scale is something like that. This is yeah, around 50 feet. And for the graphic scale, it's important that we know where the 0 is. We have to insert a text. So this is 0. And that would be 50. Okay, so remember that the drawing can be outstanding. This drawing is very good. We have, it's very nice. The line types and all things are correct. But this information, it's necessary. We always need a north sign, and we always need a graphic scale. Same thing here. Okay, so here we have something that it's very nice with the colors, with the trees, the green areas, the gray areas for the pavement. Okay, so everything's nice, but we always need this north sign and the graphic scale. When we are talking about elevations, we don't need a north sign, but we do need a graphic scale. Okay, so when we're talking about floor plans, north sign or north arrow and graphic scales are mandatory. When we are talking about sections of or elevations, at least we need the graphic scales. Probably that graphic scale is now like this, bigger. Okay, but we need a graphic scale and we need numbers. We need to see that this is 0 and this is 50 feet, whatever. We always need graphic scales in drawings. In orthogonal drawings, we don't have graphic scales in perspectives, okay, but we do have graphic scales in plans, sections, and elevations. So first slide, it will be the site plan, then you can look at this. Okay, so here we have a site plan. For sure, here we have the real. So we don't need that. Okay, so we don't want the Google Map plan or the Google Map screenshot. It's not necessary. And here we start having the pictures of the model. So this is not a site plan. This is a perspective of this model. But we give information about the site. We see the building and we see the surroundings. Okay, so in all these aerial views that you can take from this picture, make sure that you include part of the surroundings. So here we have different examples. Okay, and here, for example, this one. If I wouldn't include this picture on a presentation because it's not clear. Well, it's not clear. We see the trees, but the trees don't belong part of our building. We see the building as a background here, but this doesn't give us information. Okay, so this is not a screenshot or a perspective that I will include in our building. This one, okay, that's relevant. Okay, here we see the perspective of the building. That's the elevation of the building from this green area that we have. It's a green area or a parking lot, I don't know, that we have at this level, at the basement level. And here we can see the difference between the concrete wall, the travertine wall, and here we see the column and the arch structure of the building. Okay, so something like that might be relevant. And something like this. Okay, so on this presentation, you have to try to take different pictures from different corners of the building. And from different pictures, we have a parking lot with this kind of pavement. We can have a green area that will be with grass or whatever. And here we have this retaining wall with trees. So those pictures are good. Probably the perspective is not the best. We will try a better perspective now with our model, but we need to see the surroundings. So I wouldn't include this one because it's not here. We don't see the building, so I wouldn't include that one. These kind of perspectives, the aerial views are relevant because we see everything. We see different levels, and we see different materials. So I would include something like that. And then pictures taken from different corners of the building. Okay, so at least we would need like 4 pictures to understand the volume of the building from different corners. Then those are internal views. Okay, so that internal view, is it relevant? No, it's not. Here we don't see anything special. These are this picture is taken from the basement. And you see that we have 2 staircases going upstairs that way and that way. It's not the best perspective that we can take on of this picture. Here we have a perspective of the staircase. Again, I wouldn't select this to show in a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, but what about this one? It's getting better, but these kind of perspectives, as you can see. What's missing here? What would you add in this perspective? What? People. Yeah, we need people. The human scale. Okay, so if we look at this, we don't know, at least in those perspectives that we have here, we have a car. Okay, so well, this is not a human scale, but at least we understand how big the building is. But in this interior perspective, this one, we don't have any information about the size of people. Okay, so again, if you are going to work with a PowerPoint presentation, make sure that all the shots that we have here include people. Okay, so we can prepare a page like this. So we need to include always and when we're talking about a public building, museum or something like that, probably one person won't be enough. So we can try to paste this here. Okay, so I'm doing this without Photoshop. In Photoshop, you will have to remove the background. But if this is a museum, try to select people or try to select silhouettes that go well with the idea of the museum. Well, I don't know if these kind of people go well with this idea of the museum, but okay. So if we are working with a gym, try to include people working out, or if you are designing a basketball court, try to include people playing basketball. So the silhouettes that we are including here, they should be related to the activity that we are performing in that building. Okay. So this perspective, I don't think it's the best perspective we can take from this building, but for sure it doesn't have people, and that's a problem. This one, on the other hand, I think it's representative from the building, because in this perspective, we see a lot of things. Okay, so we can see that there are vaults, we can see the skylights, and this front perspective, it's nice. That's the lobby, so that's the entrance. We have a glass wall here, so that's the entrance to the main lobby, to the building. So with this perspective, I think we don't have people, so you should add people in this perspective. But I think it's better than this one. Okay, so if I had to create a good perspective of this building, this should be one of those, because that picture is relevant with this vanishing point, this center vanishing point, because here the most important thing of this building probably are the vaults in those galleries with vaults. So we have to take a perspective like this one. Then we have this. Okay, that's a good perspective too, because here we have one of the vaults. This is one of the staircase. Okay, so that's like the lobby, and here we have some information about that's the lobby. Here we see through the entrance. This is the wall. That's the entrance to the building. Those are the trees that we have at the entrance. Okay, so here we have information about the vaults. We have the skylights. I like this perspective. Okay, so far this perspective is good. This one is good too. This one, it's not bad, but I think in this specific building, interior shots like this with a central vanishing point work better than pictures or shots with two vanishing points, in my opinion. Okay, so I think this one and this one are better than this one. Then this auditorium, it's another relevant part of this building, but I don't think it's great, this perspective. It could be better. Okay, so we have to show the auditorium, because in this building we don't take shots from the basement. Okay, don't do that, because the basement, we have a floor, we have a ceiling, and we have walls, but there is not special space in the basement. But on the first floor we do have special spaces. So we have the auditorium, which is something special because we have this floor that goes down. And then we have the galleries with the vaults. Yeah, I think we can take better shots from the auditorium than this one. This is the lobby, and that's good because if we analyze the site plan, Okay, so first we have the trees and the fountains. So those are outdoor areas, but they are man-made. So the architect designed these. We are outdoors, but we can feel that the architect has designed the landscape and the water, and the green areas. Then we have this transition space. This is not closed. It has a roof, but it doesn't have walls. And finally, we enter to the main lobby where the two staircases are. Okay, so in this shot, I think it's good because here we have the area with the trees, then we have this area with the roof, but without walls, and here we have the walls. So this is outdoors, and this is indoors. But there's a transition between outdoors and indoors. Here, first we have the trees, then we have that element, we have that roof, and finally we enter the building. Okay, so that's always good. It's not that I am in front of a building, I open the door, okay, inside the building, outside the building. We need those transition spaces, and that makes the experience of entering the building more interesting than just open a door and okay, I'm in. So that space, that transition space, I think it's interesting. And here we have interesting ideas about working with a section and the perspective at the same time. So today I want to show you how to do this. Okay, so that's a very nice way to convey the idea of both things, the section of the building and the space. So we can work with this section and then we can work with the perspective. Okay, so I think that's an interesting idea because here we see different levels of the building. We know that there's a level here. We have the first floor, then we have the basement, and then we have the vaults. So here we see different levels, but at the same time, we see the space, we see the perspective. So that it's more, or it's better than the section itself. So here we can see the section, different levels, but at the same time, we can see the space of the building. So here you see different options. Okay, so showing a section and then a perspective. So this is what I want to show you today. Then, okay, so that's the site plan, but this is a site plan, not from Google Maps, but from your drawing or your file. Okay, so if I want to, let's prepare the layout of the presentation. So I'm going to open a new file. So the first slide will be the site plan. Well, the first slide is always a cover page. Okay, so the cover page should be the best picture of your building. The best, the most appealing, something that summarizes the building, something that you are proud of. Okay, so that would be the cover page. And we decide on this at the end, when we have all the building models, when we have the different screenshots, then we say, okay, so that's the best one. And then we design the cover page. On the cover page, remember that we always need information about the project. We need the title. We need your name. We need the course and information about the assignment. So we need a nice picture, and we need the, and then we need all this information. Then we need a site plan. Remember that in the site plan, we always need a graphic scale, and north arrow. So first the cover page, second the site plan. The third page should include information about 2D documents, plans, sections, elevations. In these 2D documents, if we are talking about plans, we need the north and graphic scale. If we're talking about sections and elevations, we only need the graphic scale. We don't need those. Okay. What are these documents? We can have this. Okay, so this is the basement, and this is the first floor. Here we do have the north arrow here. Okay, perfect. We need a graphic scale. So with these plans and elevations, here in this case, we have materials. We have floor materials here that add some information. Well, we can explore different options, and I will record videos to show you how to explore different options. But we do need this information. Okay, we need the basement plan, and we need the first floor plan, and I would add here the roof plan. Remember that underneath every drawing, we need a title. We need a main title for the page, but this is the basement. Then we need the first floor. And finally, we need the roof plan. And the order is important, okay? So if we start with the basement, usually in this area of the world, we read documents from left to right. So if the first is the basement, the second would be the first, and the last one would be the roof. You can start from the roof first and basement, but you can have basement, roof, and first, okay? So there should be an order with this. Okay, so we need 2D documents, plans, and section and elevations. We are going to, this will be only for plans, and we can have another one for section and elevations with a graphic scale. But when we have different drawings in a presentation, we have a title for each drawing. And well, we have this, the north plan, the graphic scale will be the same for all of them. And that's another thing. Make sure that when you're displaying different views like this, all the drawings have the same graphic scale and the same north, because it will be confusing if you don't have the same north, the same orientation, or the same scale for the drawings on the same page or on the same slide. Okay, so we have the cover page, then we have the site plan, and then we have the 2D documents. We can start with the plans, and then we can start with elevations. So for the sections and elevations, we can copy something like this. Graphic scale, and here we have sections and some elevations of the building. What's next? Okay, so here you see that we have elevations from the east elevation, north, east, west. So here we would need names for these drawings too. And if we are working with the same presentation, make sure that the font size and the font type that we are using are consistent with all the drawings. Okay, so if this is a section, that's section 1. That would be section 2. And that can be, I don't know, east or west elevation or north. Okay, so we have drawings and we have names on those drawings. Those little details, make sure that everything is lined up, make sure that the font size is always the same in all is consistent in all the presentation. So those are details that matter in this. Okay. That's something very good. When we are dealing with sections and elevations, we can always add what we call a key plan. Okay, so a key plan, it's a small floor plan, usually the roof. And here we have information about where the elevations are taken from. So if we are dealing with the north elevation, so that would be the north elevation, and we have section 1 and section 2, we can take different sections of the building. So for example, if this is section 1, okay. We can type here 1. And if we want to add section 2, we can type here 2. Whoop. Okay, we have 2 different sections from 2 different points of the building. So having this small key plan helps us understand where the section is taken from. Okay, so those are again small details, but they add information. So here we have section, elevation, we need a graphic scale. And when we're thinking about sections and elevations, make sure that you always work with this key plan. So that we understand where the section is taken from. Okay, let's move on. Well, we are done with this. This is the required information about the building. Okay, so that's the minimum. If we want to analyze a building, we need to start with the site plan, then we need floor plans, and then we need sections and elevations. And now, after that, it's up to us. Okay, so this is the required documents that we have to show, so people understand the building by looking at site plans, floor plans, sections. And now we have to sell the product. Okay, so this is something that we need to measure heights, we need to measure areas. But now, if we want to sell the product, we have to create nice renderings of our building. So that's what we are going to do now. Okay, so here we can work with different layouts for our building, or different layouts for different views from our building. So again, we need to look at things, and we have to see things that we like. For example, this can be a nice aerial view of the building. So if I have this in my project, I can copy this one. And in this kind of presentations, there should be always something that is more important than other documents that we have in this building. Okay, so make sure that if you are working with a presentation like this, at the end, in every single page or in every single slide, there is something that is more important than others. So, to picture format. And when we are working with presentations, I don't know, but this always works better. Okay, so if you leave a space or a gap between the edge of the page or the slide and the picture, you can do that, but then we have to make sure that this gap is the same around the picture. Otherwise, make the picture as big as the slide, and that will work much better. And here we have information, or we have a space for something different. Okay, so what can we do with this? If we are working with this kind of elements, we can always insert text. Okay, so make sure that we can, we have a title, and then we have text. But again, that text should be it's like another picture. Okay, so we can copy text about the Kimball Museum. Probably we can make it slightly smaller, and I don't know, think about how to line up the text here, because it's important. Okay, so if you are dealing with text, make sure that the text, it's like another picture. And if you want to add something here, we can add some information about Louis Kahn. So think about this layout, but if you are dealing with pictures, there is always something that is more important than others in this presentation. Okay. Now I want to show you what I would do with this, or what pictures I would take, or how can I work with different materials. If this is the model, let's try to work with different cameras, and let's try to see what we can see here. Okay, on level 1, the first thing I would try is to create shots from corners. Okay. So with this is a draft, okay, so the building is not even completed there, but I think these corner views, well, can help us understand what the building is about. So make sure that you try at least 4 different corners, and then we can select what the best picture is out of all of them. The picture here is not developed. Okay, but if you take some of these pictures from corners, well, we can understand what the best one is. So that's the first thing we have to do in this. So place cameras in the corners and then try to, try to see what the best picture is. Then when we are dealing with plans with level 1 or level 2, why don't we see columns on level 2? Well, something like that is happening to other students. Okay, so sometimes the columns disappear from one of the views. So if that happens, we have to go to the elevation.
Actually figured out how to do that. So if we go back into the plan,
Yes.
and then like on the properties slide, go like all the way down. And on the phase filter,
Oh,
just click the down for the phase filter. The one
this one?
for show previous, the one that says show previous, and then scroll up. And
Sure.
just click none.
Good. I didn't know that. Okay, so perfect. Okay, but sometimes it's annoying because this doesn't show up and it's like annoying. Oh, but look at this here in this level 2. You can see these columns belong to level 2, but those walls belong to level 1. You see that?
Yeah.
But as you can see, you can select those walls, okay, because they are like this is like highlighted, and this one are like grayish, and we can select these walls. By the way, if I want to do this, so now I'm working on the floor plans, so we can always duplicate view, and if we're going to select this view level 2 presentation. Okay. So for this level 2 presentation, I don't know. Do I need grid lines? I don't think so. So I'm going to hide category in view, and that's all I need. I don't need the scope boxes, so I'm going to hide in view and category. So that's all I need. Probably I need to show the crop region. So that's it. Or hide the crop region. Okay, that's fine. But here it's confusing because we see walls and we see columns. We see that we can select columns, but we can't select walls. This is because the walls belong to the basement and those columns belong to this level 2. So if that happens, and I don't want to do that, I want to hide the walls, we can use 2 options here. We can use the view range. So if the view range is associated to level 2, so even if we can't do anything here. And there's another option, which is the view the underlay, sorry. Okay, so this underlay, I don't really know how it works. I know that it works, but I don't understand how. So you see that the range here, the range base level, it's level 1, and the range top level is level 2. So what if I type here level 2? Okay, that makes sense. Then the walls disappear, you see, and we only have information about level 2. Okay, so that makes sense. That means that you can use the view range or you can use the underlay. Sometimes it's good if we are working with this and we need a reference, because if we are tracing the first floor on the second floor, that makes sense, but sometimes it's annoying and I don't want that. So you have to use with this underlay. Okay. Something else we can do here. We can work, when we're working with floor plans, we need to add details. So when we don't have enough details, there's something that always works. It's adding shadows. So by casting shadows, and then on the graphic display options, if we talk about shadows, yes, in lighting, we can select the sun settings. Okay. When it comes to plants, don't go crazy with shadows, because if we touch the steel, okay, so that shadows don't make any sense because they are not doing any good to the project. So we have to make sure that the shadows have like an angle like this, and they show the space. But on the other hand, I think this is 11 the 21st. No, that doesn't work. This is good enough. Okay, so that's good enough. We have an angle to the shadows like this. This angle is nice. But then the height of the shadow is not, it's too high. Okay, so I think the height of this shadow is too much. So I would, that happens in November the 21st, as we are getting closer to the winter solstice, shadows are longer. So if I want to reduce the size of the shadow, I can use October, September, and see what happens. Okay, so you see that we are reducing the length of the shadow. If this is too short, I can go to October, and then I can apply. Okay, so I can play with the length of those shadows. Okay, so that's nice. And then if I want to make the shadows clearer, let's do this. Okay, so don't do the shadows too dark. That looks nicer, especially when we are displaying all these. Okay. But now we have to be consistent. Okay, so if we have decided that for the level 2, those shadows are nice, then we will have to do the same for level 1. So I'm going to duplicate level 1. I'm going to call it level 1 presentation. And for this level 1 presentation, I have to do exactly the same thing I did for level 2. I have to hide in view all these grid lines. I will hide all the scope boxes, and we don't need these kind of elements. So I will hide it too. Okay, so I have just the walls and the columns. And if I want to use exactly the same shadows, we need to the graphic display options. I have to apply shadows, but now I have to be consistent with the features that I selected for the other one. So now I don't remember. It's on this presentation on level 2. I selected the lighting that still day. It was December the 23rd at 1:56 p.m. So I have to be consistent with this. And now in level 1, it has to be still, I think it was October the 23rd, sorry, at 1:56 p.m. Okay, so now I have the same angle for the shadows, and for the color, it was 20. So I apply. Okay, so that is important, that when I look at the level 1 and I look at level 2 presentation, I see exactly the same kind of shadows, the same color. Okay, so we have to be consistent with these two presentations, with these two layouts. So that always works. But if we select shadows, it's better than the section lines are darker than the shadow, so they are not white. So when we cast shadows, we can go to visibility graphics and make sure that everything that is section, so we have the cut line, so everything that is cut by that plane, but that line is from a different color. So for sure I have columns. So if I override this color here and I make it first solid, and then I select black and then apply, nothing has changed. Why? This is a column. Graphics, column, lines, pattern. It doesn't work. Interesting. Probably because those are structural columns. Let's go to visibility graphics. Let's select only structure. And when we have structure, we do have columns. Oh, no, because there is another category with structural columns. Okay, so we have to do this with structural columns, override, solid, black, white, and now the columns are black. Okay, but again, we have to be consistent. If columns are black, then the walls should be black too. So I have to go to visibility graphics again. I will select architecture. Yeah, I only need architecture and structure in these categories. And then in walls, I have to do the same. I have to override, select solid, and here select black. There you go. Okay, so that looks nicer because, well, it looks like we have space on a floor plan. And yeah, that looks nice. But again, consistency. If I go to level 2, I have to make sure in visibility graphics that for structural columns, I have the same And for walls, I have the same. Okay, consistency, if columns and walls are black on the first floor, they should be black on the second floor and the other way around. And the shadows should have the same color and the angle of the shadow should be the same. Okay, so if we do this, especially because if you are preparing the layout with this, the first floor, the second floor at the same scale, if the shadows are different colors or the lines, the angles are different, it looks weird. Okay? But that's an option. So I don't mean that you have to do this. I don't mean that you have to do black walls and columns with these gray shadows. It's nice, I like it, but you can try something different. For example, we can try materials. Then what would I do? I would duplicate again level 2. I would change this name to level 2 presentation 2. So those are different options. And in this option, I don't want shadows. So I remove the shadows. Okay. And if I don't have shadows, I don't want those solid hatches on walls and columns. So I have to go to visibility graphics, and from structural columns in this, I can say no override, or I can paint it white. And the same thing for the okay. So now I just have a different, well, I don't have any shadows, I don't have any hatch on the columns. So what would I do now? First, we need a floor. You don't have a floor on this.
I do, but for some reason it's invisible.
Oh, it's here. It's hidden. Huh?
I have no idea what happened. I kept trying to redraw it, and even the walls are invisible on the second floor. So
Okay. So the floor is there, but it's transparent. So how did you do that?
I don't know. I just put the floor normally.
Okay. Maybe if I override graphics in view by element transparency. If we go to visibility graphics in floors, we don't have anything. Well, maybe this is a floor, complete slab. What about the material? Concrete. Yep, so it shouldn't be transparent. So if I have a floor here, and here I do have a floor, then I can select this option, split face. So if you split face, you select the floor here, and you can create like different elements or different materials in this floor. So I'm going to create a rectangle here. Okay. And now in this rectangle, I'm going to apply a different material. So now we have the floor, but then we have this rectangle that it's not at a different level. It's not a void. So it's just a line that separates two different materials. If you click here, paint, and we have added different materials here. We have the travertine, for example. If I click, that will be travertine. And if I select realistic colors, okay. So here you can see that within the same floor, I can have different materials. So I'll do it again. I click here, split face, and I select the floor, the face that I want to split, and then I can use rectangles or I can use just lines. If I go all the way up until the edge of this floor, and now here, and I click OK, you see that I have divided this into different materials. So here with paint, I can select this, and I have different materials in this floor. Okay, that's useful because if we look at pictures of this building, you can see that in this part of the building, we have travertine here, and we have wood there. Okay, so we can divide this floor into travertine and wood. I'm going to use your file again, Irving, to see if it works. Because what we do know in this file is that the stripes between these two columns, as we can see here, they are made of travertine. And then the rest of the gallery floor is made of wood. Okay, so instead of doing two kind of floors, I have a floor for this and I have a different floor for that. If I use that split face, it will work just fine. So I'm going to work again with this option, split face. Then I select the floor. And now I know that all these elements between these two columns here. Here, then copy. Like this, and then I can copy this here. And there. Okay, we have to close this gap. Here. Here. Oh, because I can only do this. That works. Okay. And then I can do another one. Split face, select rectangle, and then I can do this. Okay, so here, if you keep doing these kind of things, if you keep splitting first, splitting faces, then we can paint. And we have two materials here. We have the travertine. Oh, you don't have the travertine here. Well, let's say that we can have two different materials. So I can paint this with this material. And I'm sure that there is some wood here. Okay, so with this option, we can have this effect. We can have two different materials for this and for that, just by working with that split face option that we have here. Split face and then paint. So we can divide this floor into different materials. When we divide this floor into different materials, we don't use shadows. Okay, so that's why when we were looking at this, okay, so we can have this option. So for this option, we don't have shadows. We just have different materials on the floor plan. So basically, there are two options. You can work with black walls and columns, and then shadows, or you can work with different materials. Okay, it's up to you, but don't do both, because if we cast shadows with this, it will look, it's too much information for this, because we have different materials. With different materials, we have different colors, but when we have shadows, then there are things that we might not understand. Okay, so my advice, either black walls with shadows or colors without shadows. So this is something that you can try for floor plans. And we can always have, if you have time, plans with shadows and plans with materials. And we have nice examples of both, especially here we have examples of these plans with shadow, okay, with black walls, black columns, and then shadows. That looks very nice. And here we have a material, but only for a difference between indoors and outdoors. Okay, so you can do that with Photoshop. But if you add shadows, this is the right option. Do not add materials, because it will be confusing. So this can be black and white. And if you want to add materials, then you don't have shadows. Okay, so those are the two options here. Okay, so now with this, you know how to add different materials to different floors. I wanted to show you this effect of the perspective with section, this one. We can do that easily with Gradle. So on the 3D view, we have to work with the section box. You remember that we have the scope box. That's the scope box. And by the way, you have two. I don't know why. But we can work with the section box. If we work with the section box, then we can adjust the size of the model. And here we have a section. If we go to the front view, we have the section as a 2D document. But if you right click here and select perspective, here we don't have that effect of perspective with the section. And that always looks very nice. The building has to be completed for sure, but that looks quite nice. But to get to understand this, because you see here we have the section in black, we should go to visibility graphics, and then everything that belongs to a section should be in black. So here we have floors, walls. So we have to do this with the wall. Select the solid fill and select the black color. Right. So, black. So you see how now the walls are black, but we have more. We have to do the same thing with floors. Well, first with roofs, we override solid. Okay, apply. So now the roofs are black. Then we have to do the same with floors. Apply. Now the floors are like this, but there's something else. We have to do the same thing with the topography, because we have topography in this drawing. So we have to go to visibility graphics, and we have to go all the way down to topography, and we have to do the same here. Solid, black, and black. Okay, so now the topography is also black, and we have that. Okay. And then again, shall we use materials or shadow? I think shadows will go well with this. So that effect of perspective, it's always something very nice. But again, in graphic display options, make sure that the shadows are always consistent with the same value, 20. And that will look better. Okay, with this option, we have this effect. If you want to go back to the orthographic view, you can right click and go back to the orthographic view. And we can have sections with shadows and with this black hatch of everything that it's cut. Okay, so but remember that we can either do this perspective or orthographic.